Groupon, shop it. The channel, help it. If you click the link in the description.
Celebrity voice impersonator.
From the pages of the World Wrestling Federation magazine, here's updates.
Party people and place to be. What's going on? It's me. This is from WhatCulture Wrestling. We love the folks over at WhatCulture Wrestling. This is the 10 best heel turns in wrestling history. Woo! That is a hell of a list to try to tackle. This starts right now.
Damn, it feels good to be the bad guy. There are many things that go into making a fine heel turn.
Woo!
The factor, the right baby face to turn on, the new mean and nasty theme music the heels will be lumbered with. However, the most important factor in a successful turn is the heel's reason for doing what he did. The more justified the feeling, the more uncomfortable and angry it makes the fans. Like when I super kicked Jack's head off his shoulders, I was just protecting my spot at the top of the channel, keeping him in line, just like I did to Pachita and I'll do to any other motherfucker. Feels like stepping up and chatting bold. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here is the 10.
Woo! That is a hell of a list to try to tackle in history.
If it turned bad, why not do it against the biggest babyface in wrestling? Mr. Wonderful, aka Paul Orndorff, despite battling Hogan in a tag match at the first ever WrestleMania, soon became the Hulkster's tag partner and one of the top babyfaces in the country. However, cracks began to show when Adrian Adonis began referring to Orndorff as Hulk Jr. Oh, look how small he is. His frustrations were conveyed out carefully and deliberately, including famously phoning the Hulkster live on TV, only to be told, sorry, he's too busy working out to talk. Ouch. Mr. Wonderful eventually pulled the trigger on his turn and clotheslined Hogan after a match, leading to a half-year feud that included a show in Toronto that drew 70,000 fans and a famous cage match on Saturday Night Main Event where both men escaped and their feet touched the ground at the same time. The heel turn and what followed was a huge critical and commercial success for WWF. Number 9, Flair turns on Sting. Oh, Sting, you idiot. There's a long-running joke that Sting is the dumbest man in wrestling because all his partners turn on him. Lex Luger, Bret Hart, Randy Savage, Scott Steiner's dogs. Everyone turns on Sting and goes for it every time. Maybe there's lead in that face paint. The best of the best.
There is lead in that fucking face paint. Boy, oh boy, is there.
Flair made his living in the early 90s being a massive...
And folks, I want to take this opportunity,
convinced him to team up with him to face Arn Anderson and
a little bit of a sidetrack to let you know
Flair was injured before the match.
about the Natural Disasters Open Invitational Tag Team Tournament.
So out comes Flair halfway through the match.
It absolutely does not connect with this video at all.
Cheering on his partner.
There absolutely is no
Minutes for Sting to finally make the tag.
positive
First thing Flair does is
connection with what Adam from WhatCulture.com just said and Sting at all. Folks, stay tuned.
Justified in his actions. During a match of Backlash between HBK and Batista, Michaels faked a knee injury to somehow pick up the win. Jericho was the ref for that match, and the deception annoyed him. Later, somehow, Michaels managed to convince Y2J that he was actually hurt, before then super kicking him to prove that he wasn't. Oh, Sean, you little confusing monkey. Despite Jericho being completely in the right in this situation and HBK being completely in the wrong, the fans still cheered Michaels and booed Y2J. After all the injustice was too much, Jericho viciously attacked Michaels in the highlight reel, low-blowing him and sending his face crashing into a TV. What followed then was the best feud.
Oh, that was the connection?
7, The Barbershop. A brilliant
Jesus, I don't even remember that fucking connection.
one of the best singles
This.
history of professional
Yeah.
wrestling. Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty
Yeah.
were the Rockers, a flamboyant team of acrobatic goofs who wore bad clothes. But
They
as
did
Adam
wear
Cheetah
bad
found
clothes.
out, a team can have all the chemistry in the world, but there comes a time when the more charismatic of the two must seize the spotlight. In one of Brutus the Barber's
Yeah.
barbershop segments, that's hard to say, in 1992, Jannetty finally committed the ultimate act of cowardice and trying to escape through a window. Will you stop? HBK actually super kicked his buddy and sent him flying. Went on to huge success. Number 6, the double turn.
And what's interesting is people say, oh, Jannetty was a drug addict. So was Shawn. So the fuck was Shawn. So what really between the two made Shawn catapult and Marty stall? Was it Shawn's fucking mic skills? Because he wasn't that good yet. That was fucking interesting. That'll be an interesting little op-ed. That's interesting.
Cheering on his resilience. The Hitman then continued continued the assault after the match, cementing him as the bad guy and Austin as the unlikely hero. Demonstrated purely through action rather than words, this was a turn booked to perfection.
Yeah, I
Number 5,
fucking totally agree with it.
Explode. Now, this is an example of long-term storytelling at its best. The story lasted for a full year and
yes,
sure, it wasn't
yes,
time, but looking back, everything wrapped up beautifully.
Yes, it really did. It really did.
Infamous handshake to become allies, combining Hulkamania with macho madness and a wonderful cocktail of terrible mental problems. A few months later, WrestleMania 4, Randy Savage won the WWF Championship following an assist from the Hulkster.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Savage and the Hulkster face off against those two men again at SummerSlam, in the process officially dubbing themselves the Mega Powers. However,
I have a picture where I'm Liz in that little scenario.
Savage showing frustration at this at Survivor Series.
And Warhog is the Mega Powers.
Savage whilst eliminating Bad News Brown, and the two almost came to blows. Finally, the break happened when a paranoid Savage turned heel, attacking Hogan in February on an NBC special, The Main Event. So, at WrestleMania 5,
I like how the belt was upside down, too.
Years since Savage first won the title, the two men faced off at WrestleMania for the gold, having told an incremental but perfectly plotted story of Savage turning to the dark side. Number 4, Zbyszko portrays his mentor.
That was very good.
35 years ago, but it's still recognized as one of the best turns of all time. Larry Zbyszko, with a name on the Mr. Mixer's Pitlick scale of being hard to spell, was trained by the legendary Bruno Sammartino and was widely regarded as his protege. In an attempt to escape his teacher's shadow, Zbyszko challenged Sammartino to a match in 1980. Larry couldn't out-wrestle his mentor, and his frustrations got the better of him, attacking Sammartino with a wooden chair and leaving him to bleed heavily. In a time when many still believed wrestling was real, Zbyszko became the most hated man in the sport. His car was vandalized, taxis he traveled in were overturned, he was hit by a fan with an iron pole, and even stabbed in the bum by a crazed Brunaholic after a match. Now that is a heel turn. Number 3.
Oh my God! It was dangerous to be a heel back then.
Remembered for two things. One, the tragic circumstances whereby all but one of the 5 brothers died within 1 decade, and, much more positive, their lauded rivalry with the fabulous Freebirds. The Von Erich boys were noble and pure, the Freebirds were cocky and flamboyant, and their 6-man matches in Texas in the 1980s were the stuff of legends, and it all began with a heel turn. Freebird Michael Hayes, this guy, was babyface at the time and made special enforcer in a cage match between Kerry Von Erich and Ric Flair. At one point, Hayes clocked Flair and left him for Kerry to pin, but the Von Erich refused. Not that way. Taking offense at such elitism, Hayes left, and when Kerry went after him, fellow Freebird Terry Gordy smashed the cage door into his face. The Freebirds were loathed in Texas ever since, and this act of barbarism almost started a riot. Number 2.
Oh, is that what happened?
Hulk Hogan has really nice shirts. Like, he has really nice shirts. Andre the Giant was one of the most universally beloved figures in wrestling. A giant man with a giant heart, they said, which is also partly what killed him, but let's move on. In
That's very true,
Andre's
yes.
health had begun to deteriorate, and Vince wanted to give him one giant last main event befitting of his huge status. Despite being babyface for 15 years, the bold decision was to turn him heel and put him against Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 3. How? Well, it all happened on Piper's.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Trophy for being WWF champion for 3 years, and Andre got a much smaller one for being undefeated for his entire career, which he technically wasn't, but shut up. Upset
That's correct.
Penis and the blonde guy, Andre hired the Weasel Bobby Heenan to be his manager.
Yes, he did.
For a match at Mania, then
Yes, he did. Rip the shirt. And I think he... Oh, it was so good. Because Hogan was so... Andre, what are you doing, brother? Why are you with the Weasel Man?
Number 1,
that was amazing.
Hogan is the 3rd man. You talk about it being...
Yeah, yes. It re-revolutionized the fucking business. It really did.
These days, but he was professional wrestling for a whole damn decade. Throughout the 80s and 90s, the Red and Yellow Warrior had babyface telling kids to eat their vitamins, say their prayers, and whatever it was that Pasta Mania was all about. At Bash at the Beach 1996, after Scott Hall and Kevin Nash defected from WWF to WCW, Hogan did the unthinkable. He dropped a leg on his buddy Randy Savage and turned heel, finally telling the fans who'd loved him for over a decade to stick it. Seriously, this is like if Jesus turned heel by stabbing Santa. Well, not really, truth be told. Good Hulk had been rubbing older fans the wrong way for a while.
That's a fairly comprehensive and great list. I can't, other than the shit I said during the video, there's really not a whole lot of shit I can say against this video. Adam's got it fairly right. This is one of the reasons why I love Adam from WhatCulture. He's pretty much got it right. Like, whew, the Hogan turn was probably the biggest turn in all of wrestling history because it started the biggest boom in all of wrestling history. He brought up some old names that I don't remember, that a lot of people who are still alive don't remember. He brought up some pretty big names, some pretty big turns. That's, that's a list. That is a list. That is a list. Oh, I honestly can't dispute pretty much any of this fucking list. Like, he's fucking got it. He's fucking got it. I do think the Jericho-Shawn Michaels one, though, might be a little overplayed on this list. It started a feud that brought about some great matches. Better than that fucking 19 bullshit that the internet loves to fucking jack off all over. But it brought about some really good matches. But I don't know that was the biggest heel, that was a bigger heel turn than, say, Austin in 01. Although Austin in 01 really made no sense. But it brought about some amazing fucking moments. People, tell me what you think down there in the comment section. I think Triple H in 99 was a big heel turn. I think fucking Taker in 99 was a big heel turn. I think there are some other big heel turns that really moved stories along, that really brought about some great controversial issues. I think really in the long term, we may remember John Cena as one of the greatest heel turns of all time, even though he didn't officially turn heel. He got a lot of boos, and you can see where he got a lot of boos and why he got a lot of boos. Or the flip side of that is CM Punk. You could see that. Man, there are some significant heel turns. They mentioned Bret Hart, but we don't really talk all that much about, for instance, the people who turn heel on and off, multiple times, like a Kane or a Big Show. Some of their heel turns actually meant something. You know what I mean? At least at the time they did. Man, there are some really big heel turns in WWE history, in wrestling history, and it's interesting. First of all, it's interesting that it almost seems like, well, no, there were some WCW ones, but most of them seem like WWF or E heel turns. Party people, tell me what you think down there in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe. Go to youtube.com/TheReal469. I almost fell over. That's how drunk I am. youtube.com/TheReal469. Click the little blue button over on the right hand side that says support. You do that, you'll be supporting, and party people, that ain't bad. Boom, boom, boom.
Suplex City, Suplex City, bitch. Suplex City, Suplex City, bitch. Suplex City, Suplex City, bitch. Suplex City, Suplex City, bitch.